Good evening and welcome to Jerusalem News Service. My name is Joseph Ben Hannon. It has been an eventful day here in Jerusalem. As you may know, today marks the beginning of a week-long Passover celebration. People by the thousands have entered the city as required by the law of Moses. Pilgrims from all over the world are swelling the numbers of people in Jerusalem to 4 times the usual population. Our governor Pontius Pilate has provided extra security in the form of Roman soldiers patrolling the streets. This is just a precautionary measure. We do not expect public disturbances. The big news story of the day, however, is not the influx of thousands of people into the city for the feast, but the arrival of one person in particular, Jesus of Nazareth. The controversial rabbi came riding in the city on a donkey, accompanied by his disciples and surrounded by a multitude of people. For more on this arrival, we take you to Elijah Ben Shur.
I'm standing on the 2-mile road that connects the village of Bethany with the city of Jerusalem. A few hours ago, Jesus, the rabbi from Nazareth, passed by this spot. According to one of his disciples, he had spent the night at the home of his good friends, Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. Lazarus, you may remember, claimed that Jesus raised him from the dead several weeks ago. As Jesus left Bethany, some of his disciples fetched a donkey for him to ride on. Jesus mounted it and began his journey. A crowd quickly gathered around him, many of them, curious to see the man who allegedly raised Lazarus from the dead, had come out of the city to greet him. The mood along the road was festive. Some people took off their coats and placed them on the road for the donkey to step on. Others tore palm branches from nearby trees and spread them on the road or waved them. Clearly, the crowd gave Jesus a hero's welcome. As they spread their garments and branches on the road, the crowd shouts, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna to the Son of David."
Elijah, you mentioned that many people lined the road and welcomed Rabbi Jesus enthusiastically. Were any of them our religious leaders among them, the Pharisees or Sadducees? If so, what was their reaction?
Yes, they witnessed it, but they were not happy. At one point, they actually approached Jesus and asked him to rebuke the people for their enthusiastic greeting. But Jesus said, "I tell you, if they keep quiet, the very stones will cry out."
Thank you, Elijah, for that fascinating report. We continue our coverage of the unexpected arrival of Jesus of Nazareth in Jerusalem. There had been much speculation among the people whether Jesus would indeed come here for the Passover feast. To the delight of hundreds, he did. Jesus left Bethany this morning mounted on a donkey and made his way to Jerusalem amid the applause of many. As he approached the city, however, something rather unusual took place. For more on this, we switch to our reporter, Shamani.
Thanks, Joseph. I am staying on the Mount of Olives. From this vantage point, I have a splendid view of the city of Jerusalem. Jesus came to this location a few hours after leaving Bethany, but I noticed something unexpected. Instead of relishing the acclaim of the people, when Jesus saw the city stretched before him, he began to weep and said, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often have I longed to gather you to me, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but when you were not willing."
Thanks, Shamani. But no doubt the most striking, disturbing happening of the day took place when Jesus entered the temple area. Elizabeth has this report.
It is unbelievable what took place here this afternoon. The temple court is a mess. Throughout much of the day, temple servants and money changers sat behind tables, collecting the temple tax from the worshippers and selling sheep and other pigeons approved for sacrifice. When Jesus arrived, he was filled with anger. He overturned the tables of money changers, leaving some of them broken and money scattered all over the ground. He opened the cages that contained lambs and doves. It was bedlam. As he overturned the tables and drove out the temple merchants, I heard him say, "My house will be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers." In the same temple area, children were milling around. Picking up the refrain they had heard from the adults earlier in the day, they burst into song. The Jewish leaders were displeased. Indignant, they said to Jesus, "Do you hear what these children are singing?" Jesus replied, "Have you never read? From the lips of children and infants you have ordained praise."
Thanks, Elizabeth. All is quiet in the city now, at least as quiet as it can be expected considering the unusual events of the day. Reliable sources tell us that Jesus has left the city and returned to the village of Bethany where it all started. But we're left to wonder what it all means. What do we make of it? That is the subject of tonight's commentary. Until next time, this is Joseph signing off.